obviously we are we're very aware of the interest in Joseph Parker and his road to the title. So we're going to try and update you the absolute best we can with what we know, just to assist you so that you can go back to your newsrooms and tell everyone this is how we understand it and what's going to pan out for the next couple of weeks. Now, the more and more press conferences we do, and I know we're on Facebook Live here, and some people have previously said we talk all the time, we don't get to the main event. Every time we do one of these press conferences, what happens is that more and more journos come along and they are not aware of where we are actually in the heavyweight division. So we're just going to quickly update you so you're fully aware of how it looks. I'm sorry for some of you guys are here all the time, but Joseph, first of all, the WBC is the champion is Deontay Wilder, and he is injured. What's wrong with him at the moment, Joe? Broken arm or something like that. Broken arm. The WBA, you're quite aware that Tyson Fury is the boss there. The IBF, Anthony Joshua, and the WBO. Yes, it's a photo opportunity for you. That's the reason why he's doing it. And the WBO is Tyson Fury. Now, as you can see, Joseph Parker is the #1 mandatory position in the IBF with Anthony Joshua, and he is #1 in the WBO, but not the mandatory position. Now, we sent a thing out to you guys earlier this week about the WBO and the rules that if Tyson Fury was to be stripped, Joseph Parker would be the first cab off the rank because they would go for the first 2 boxes available. Now, as you can see there, it's Joseph Parker and Vladimir Klitschko. If you've checked the news tonight, this morning, you'll see that Eddie Hearn has updated his feelings on that fight, and he says now that's 70-30 likelihood that that fight's going to go. The other thing that's interesting about the way Eddie is talking, if you've seen anything, is that he's no longer talking about the WBO as a belt. Now, Vladimir Klitschko may not agree to the terms of Anthony Joshua. If that's the case and Tyson Fury gets stripped, obviously the numbers 1 and 2 is Vladimir Klitschko and Joseph Parker. We're on record, and Dean will say it again, we're on record, Vladimir Klitschko wants to fight us in Germany, we're quite happy to do that. It's more likely, however, it'll be Joseph Parker versus Andy Ruiz, and that potentially is going to be in Auckland, and Dean stands by what he says, that we are 95% likelihood of that happening. So, what can we tell you today? Well, first of all, we're lucky to have from AT Brett O'Reilly here, who can talk about the fact that they were involved in the Takam fight earlier this year and taking a keen interest on what's going to likely happen with this Andy Ruiz, potentially this fight. There's a potential global audience of more than 100 million people coming into Auckland if we get this. 3,000 visitors, 12,000 hotel rooms, and a lot of visitors, particularly from Australia, but also a lot of Andy Ruiz supporters in America, so likely to come here. You've seen the Rolling Stone interview earlier this week about Tyson Fury, and I'm going to provide that for you. But the key dates that you guys now have to be aware of is, the first one is that the WBO has given Tyson Fury 10 days to explain himself after that positive drugs test, which Dan Raphael came out and said was cocaine. That expires tonight, New Zealand time. All right? Now, as we understand it, according to the BBC and The Guardian, and it's going to be on this thing that I'm sending you, the WBO officials are going to meet on the 17th of October, which is the 18th on our time, in Puerto Rico at their convention, and they are going to discuss what to do with Tyson Fury. It's come out in the last couple of hours that this is likely to be a very big conference. In fact, Dean Lonergan is going to go and represent Duco Events there. In the meantime, there's been some more news that's happened today, and that is that the British Boxing Board of Control has come out, and they too are going to examine the Tyson Fury issue next on the 12th of October. I think that's next. It's middle of next week sometime. Okay. And I'll just quote what the BBC has said today, and that is that the General Secretary Robert Smith says cocaine use is against the law. They stripped Ricky Hatton of his license for alleged cocaine abuse in 2010. They have not called this meeting exclusively for Fury's case, and they won't strip him without proper hearings and procedures. That said, Robert Smith has come out and said we can't ignore the law of the land. We deal with the license, so in theory, if we were to suspend Tyson Fury, the WBO would have no choice but to strip him because he can't defend the belt. So that's new news out today. Joseph is here. I've had enough to talk about. This is the first opportunity for you to speak to him, and I will put him in front of the microphones, and you can ask questions all you like.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here.
Joseph, we had a meeting last Friday, because our guys are all reticent to speak. We had a meeting last Friday with the team. What was the outcome of that discussion? With the family and who we're going to target and why?
Who we're looking at fighting? I mean, we're looking at fighting Andy Ruiz, and we're looking at bringing it here to New Zealand. The reason why, because we'd love to host a fight here. We'd love to get back to all the supporters, but also make history. And I think if the opportunity does arise that we fight for the WBO World Championship, I'll take it in a heartbeat, and I'd love to bring it back to New Zealand.
Would this be your preferred place to be instead of, say, 20,000 in front of the O2?
I'd love to be here in New Zealand. I think O2 or there's other arenas I can fight in the future, but if I have the opportunity to bring it back to New Zealand, I think everyone will love it.
Joseph, how frustrating are the delays? This was boxing.
It's just boxing. It's there's always these things that happen in the background. We just have to be patient and see what the outcomes are. But I mean, while we're being patient, I think we just have to push along with training, keeping fit, keeping strong, and just being prepared for whatever comes our way.
So you head back to Vegas this weekend. Do you then re-enter into boxing training or just focus training?
We leave on Sunday. As soon as we arrive, we put a plan in place where we hit the weights, continue with the fitness like running. But boxing, we can sort of delay the skills and techniques until we've done this groundwork and just getting the fitness back up again.
Have you already started staying tape with Ruiz?
Yeah, I've actually looked at a lot of tape of Ruiz, of what I could find on YouTube, and I'm excited about the opportunity to fight him. If we bring it back down here, I know I'll be champion.
What do you make of Ruiz's style?
Ruiz is a fighter who likes to come forward and put on pressure. When I remember when I sparred him in 2013, he had a lot of power. I think I was saying to someone else that he was the only one that sort of punched me the hardest I've ever been punched before and ripped my mouth, and I couldn't eat for about 3 days. So I know he's got a lot of power, and he's got a lot of experience. But I know if I have a great training camp, I'll be here with anyone in the world.
You've had quite a bit to do with Tyson Fury on social media. He's been very complimentary of you, very encouraging of you. Asked you to his training camp. Give us your thoughts kind of on this massive meltdown of someone who's a double world champion of the world and hasn't been able to fight now for almost 11 months.
I mean, yeah, Tyson Fury has been good to me on social media, and he's reached out a few times. It's a little sad what he's going through, but I mean, he's a champion. In order to be the champ, you have to beat the champ. And I think if he retires or if he loses, then that's a good way of going out. But I think you have to be the champion to be the champion. And I think all these things that are happening in his personal life, it's people go through trials and things in life, but hey, this is boxing.
How do you feel, this fight we're talking about, yourself versus Andy Ruiz, how do you feel about the fact that that fight depends, I guess, ultimately on Tyson Fury's downfall?
I guess it's, I think it's just, anything can happen really, and I think we just have to be patient. Like I want the fight now. I want it to be locked in, and I want to be focused on aiming to fight this person. But I think we just have to wait until I feel like it's if the opportunity didn't come, like if we could get it now, I'll take it straight away. I guess we just have to wait.
Because I know we all see it, you're naturally a pretty nice guy, but that attitude requires a bit of a ruthless streak, doesn't it?
That comes from his promoters, not him.
How are you feeling after your fight on Saturday? And you've obviously reviewed the tape of that. What are your thoughts on your performance?
I thought the training camp we had, we found the right balance. It was pretty much the best training camp I had. I felt real fit and strong. I watched the fight. I was happy with my performance. I wish that the fight didn't stop so I can catch him clean. and knock him out cold. But I'm happy I got the result, and I think when I go back, we'll just maintain or just keep up with what we're doing.
Do you talk about going back and working on your fitness? You must have a great sort of fitness base now to sort of jump straight back in on. Does it get easier each camp you go to in that respect?
Yeah, I mean the base now is good. We have to go back and just keep pushing it. I mean, I want to go 12 rounds. If I had to go 12 rounds, I want to go 12 rounds strong. I want to throw combinations and a lot of punches. So I think there's always work to be done. But like you said, the base fitness is good.
Is the biggest motivating factor now that pretty much no matter what happens, you fight for the title in the next 3 months?
I think, is it the case? Or we can,
That's the case.
is it? Okay, so, yeah.
Motivating factor.
Put the pressure on your promoter
Yeah.
and say, I will be fighting for the world title, a world title in the next 3 months.
Well, why don't we put the promoter there so you can do it?
Well, bottom line is this, is that we're working hard out to get this opportunity for Joe down here. We, as a company, would love to be part of history and bring a world title fight here. It's never happened before. I don't think there was never been a media event of this magnitude. And Martin Snedden was involved in putting together the Rugby World Cup. And there's no doubt that was a huge, probably the biggest media event from a sports perspective this country's ever seen. But let's be honest, you know, rugby union's followed in 12 countries around the world of any size. You know, boxing's followed and participated in by 180 countries around the world. And this is the world's oldest sporting trophy, or one of the world's oldest sporting trophies. And certainly, it's the holy grail of all sports. Once upon a time, the heavyweight champion was the most known man in the world. We've, made some, right from the start, our intention was to get Joseph into this position. We couldn't be in a better position. You know, we're number one in the WBO, we're number one in the IBF, we're mandatory in the IBF. The absolute worst outcome we could get, which is a real positive, is that in March we fight the winner of Klitschko versus Joshua. How good's that going to be for a unified title? The best outcome we can get is in December we fight Andy Ruiz down here, and I'm in ongoing discussions with Bob Arum. I think we're close. And now I've just been running around for the last week getting together sponsors, because this is not going to be an easy exercise, and we're getting together people that can make this happen from a financial point of view as well. So, we're well positioned to do this. We've been doing this stuff now for between Dave, myself and Martin for a good 20, 25 years. We've got one of the best media men, probably not only in the country, but in the world, to be doing what we're doing, and we're just going to do this to the best of our ability, and we're going to show, I think we've got a talent here out of South Auckland that is second to none from a worldwide boxing perspective, and we'd like to show as a company that we're just as good as he is outside of the ring.
Why is it going to take BO so long?
I can't speak for them, Sav. They've obviously got processes in place, and I guess they take these things very seriously. If you have a look at what Tyson's already said, if they strip me, I'm taking him to court. Now, the last thing the BO want to do is end up in litigation for a very long time. One, that's expensive, and two, Fury hasn't fought for 11 months. These sanctioning bodies get their money from sanctioning fees. Now, one of the biggest divisions in the world in terms of revenue generation is the heavyweight division. And when you do a sanctioning fee at that level, they take a percentage of purse. These are things Joseph knows nothing about because we have to pay those fees. But that's okay. So that's how they get their money. So if your heavyweight guys on the shelf for 12 months have had no revenue coming in from the heavyweight division, literally it's costing them maybe 7 figures amounts of money. They want to move on, but there's also a process that has to take place, and we hate talking about processes, but that's just the way it is if you want to avoid long litigation.
So how confident are you that belt's
Hold
going
on,
to be...
Seth, you've had 3 or 4, it's just 2.
So how confident are you that the WBO belt will be available by the date you're proposing?
I'd like to think so. I can't put any guarantees on it. All I can tell you is this, is that you'll see that, and I've explained this to a lot of your media before, basically we promoters, the likes of Duco Events and Eddie Hearn at Matchroom and Burnbomb and Bob Arum, we're customers of the sanctioning bodies, and we supply their revenue. So the way business works all around the world is the people who are the biggest customers get the most amount of say. Now, Duco's fairly new on the scene, and we've paid a reasonable amount of money in sanctioning fees. Eddie Hearn's a lot bigger. I saw Andrew Mulligan the other day. Said Eddie Hearn's got the clout. Well, I'll tell you what. we're aligning ourselves with the biggest gorilla in the room, and Bob Arum, who has 10 times the clout of Eddie Hearn. And the reason we're doing that is, one, he's a promoter of Andy Ruiz, but two, if you're going to join forces with someone and have a say, wouldn't you join with the biggest guy on the block? Now, Arum's been 50 years as a promoter. He's done the world's biggest fights for the last 50 years. He's put the most amount of money into the coffers of the WBO. Him and Parker, I understand, talk on a regular basis. Parker being the president of the WBO. So we're going to be using Bob's relationship as leverage to get done what we want to get done. And what we want to get done is create history and come down here for the heavyweight championship of the world, in an ideal world in Auckland City, and show the world just how good we can be.
Would and could that fight against Ruiz go ahead if the belt wasn't on the line?
There is zero reason to fight Andy Ruiz if that doesn't go ahead. And as I said to you, if we can't make the Andy Ruiz fight for the World Heavyweight Championship, what we'll do is that we will fight a 6'6" guy who just happens to be the same size as Vladimir Klitschko and the same size as Anthony Joshua. We'll fight him in December in preparation, and then we'll go to either Germany or England, and we will knock one of those two out.
Dean, you're going to the WBO conference, which is October 17, 18. That's where it's likely to be announced the Fury decision on his belt. Does that leave you enough time to organise things here? Does it leave Joe enough time to get ready for the fight?
Firstly, it leaves any fight that takes place would be around December, and if we have to, we can push that out to any date we choose. That's number one. Number two, this company is very experienced at what we do. We've got great guys who really know what they're doing. Christ, we've got a guy over there who ran 500 employees and ran the Rugby World Cup, putting on over 26 or 36 games, whatever it was, bringing in thousands of people from around the world. I don't think that putting on a heavyweight title is anything logistically as big as that. And it's in we've got a group of people who are good at what they do. So the answer is yes, we can do it, and we can do it in a heartbeat. My job is to run around and get the sponsorship on board, which we're doing right now. And we're going to be ready in probably a week and a half to put the final offer to Bob Arum, if we can come to agreement, and then hopefully sign Joseph up, and away we go.
Have you had any contact with Bob Arum in the last 12 hours?
Not the last 12. Bob's in Macau at the moment, travelling to China, and he's been difficult to track down. I've been talking to his matchmaker, Bruce Trampler, who's well known sort of in the world of boxing, and he's been my conduit to speaking with Bob last Saturday. So, my understanding, because we've got people who are close to him, we're very close, and hopefully we'll get a deal with Bob tied up soon. But again, it's all irrelevant unless we're fighting for the world title, and that's going to come down to October 17 and that convention I'll be going to. I went to my first convention, I think it was in Miami, Florida, or no, Orlando, Florida last year. And, as a result of meeting people and having the discussions we have and the fights that we have, managed to get Joe to the number one position in the WBO, which when you think about the fact that he was ahead and has been ahead of Vladimir Klitschko for the last 8 months, it's pretty, it's a pretty unbelievable result.
Because you're having to go this time, do you expect a bit of a fight to get that BO belt released?
Like I said, we're siding with the biggest promoter in the world, and they're keen as mustard to make sure that it happens. So I would expect we're going to get the outcome we're looking for. There's no guarantees in this. This is the first time we've been through this, and we're negotiating our way through it. I've got to be honest, it's an exciting time, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And if we can pull this off, it'll probably be nothing short of a miracle, but I think we can do it. And mate, we can sit here in front of you guys and legitimately bring you a world heavyweight title fight, and hopefully at the end of it, we'll be holding the new heavyweight champions hand high in the ring.
Craig mentioned that Eddie Hearn seemed to be distancing himself a bit from the WBO belt now. What's the rationale there?
Well, I think Eddie knows we might have trumped him. Mr. Mulligan, if you're around.
When do you expect an announcement from Eddie Hearn on who Joshua's fighting next? Because the clock is ticking for him as well.
Look, that's a good question. I think, Eddie's been incredibly smart in this whole thing. And what he's doing, because whenever you put a promotion together, right, you have to, one, have a TV deal in place. Well, he's got that. Two, he's got long-term existing sponsors. So the next cab, once you've got those two locked in place, the next cab off the rank is to sell the event out. Whether he fights Vladimir Klitschko or whether he fights Joe Parker, but I'd say they're going to be fighting Klitschko, that event sells out in that arena in no more than 5 minutes because of the amazing job that he's done to promote this fight before it even goes on sale. And then your next job is to blow it up as big as you possibly can in the media to try and blow out the pay-per-view revenues. Now, if they bring on board German TV with Klitschko, that's basically a subscription TV deal. There's a set amount of money comes to the table. The majority of their money will come out of the English TV market. Eddie's already talked about the fact that it'll be the biggest pay-per-view show of all time in England. I'd probably agree with him. Ricky Hatton against Floyd Mayweather, probably going back 8 to 9 years ago, did 1.25 million buys. I would expect it'll go well in advance of that. So Eddie can make this happen. Klitschko's training right now, Joshua's training right now, so why not November 26th? The only reason they'll push it out is because they think they need more time to either A, get more sponsors on board, which they probably could, and B, to blow up the pay-per-view because it's going to bring more media to the table. But I've got to say, I've been watching Eddie Hearn very closely for the last 2 to 3 months, and you know, there's a couple of things he's done that we didn't do, but learned a lot out of it, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe we should do that as well. So he's a smart cat.
Do you think he'll announce it in a week or so?
I only know what the media tells, what I read in the media, and what he tells the media. And one of the things he does very well, and a lot of you guys should get onto this if you're not already, he has a cameraman with him close to 24 hours a day and talks to him on a regular basis. It goes up on a thing called ILTV. And mate, you can get a Hearn dialogue at any stage of the day, you know, from the day before, so you can see what he's thinking. He's very good at it.
Should we do the same with you?
No. Mate, Eddie obviously, you know, he's a media machine. I actually have to help out and work in the business as well. But he does a good job.
When you want standards with your 24/7.
No, there's a point too.
Explain why Joseph isn't ranked at all really by the BA.
Yeah, we haven't pursued it. You know, we started off sanctioning with the WBA, and we found that they weren't an organisation that we necessarily wanted to deal with, so we stopped sanctioning with them probably about a year ago. And you know, he floats around number 9 down there. We use the other 3 organisations. We just like their transparency.
Joe, how's it for you when you're wanting a shot at a world heavyweight title for your sport to be tarnished by drug use?
I mean, you know, what happens in no personal life or whatever they do in their personal life is nothing to do with me. All I want to focus on is you know, the boxing. I mean, it does hurt the sport, but I think it's just for them to deal with.
I'd look across all sports for misbehaviour. Rugby union will be a good start today, and then perhaps maybe rugby, I hate to say it, but rugby league in the past, you know, like whenever you get high, and have a look, if you really want to talk about misdemeanours in life, have a look to the NFL and the NBA and just see what sort of antics those boys get up to. Carrying guns, shooting people, drug use, you know, 70% I think blow out by the time their careers are finished and have no money. Unfair question, bro.
Dean, you read the Rolling Stone article. What did you think of that?
What a great insight. Hasn't Tyson Fury been on a hell of a ride over the last 3 or 4 months? You know, there's a number of ways to look at this. Tyson Fury's looking externally and saying, I've had a lot of pressures on me. We had a discussion with this in the office before. At the end of the day, if the guy is manic depressive, potentially as he says, the dumbest thing he can do is take drugs, the dumbest thing he can do is drink alcohol, and the dumbest thing he can do is read social media. So he's doing 3 pretty dumb things at the moment. You know, I watch the guy, I think he's a promotional genius. I think he's actually good for the sport of boxing when he's clean, and I'd love to see him clean his act up and get back in the ring. But in the meantime, stop doing dumb shit, because when you do dumb shit, it just tends to reflect back on your life.
But you want his belts.
Well, it's not a case of, you know, he's put himself in this position. And it's remiss of me as a promoter of Joseph Parker, who is basically my customer, and I have to look after him. It's remiss of me not to chase hard after an opportunity that presents himself. Because if I just sat on my ass, you know, and did what a lot of people would do and didn't try and get this world heavyweight title fight down, you guys would be berating me saying, what are you doing? So we're not taking advantage of anyone's misery. He's put himself in this position. It's up to us to do what's in the best interest of Joseph Parker, because at the end of the day, that's who's signed to our company.
Does it highlight again the pitfalls of, as you mentioned before, pro sport, but young men having a lot of money, and how confident are you that this young man beside you would not go down those?
One of the things we said to Joe right at the start, you know, is that, and you never know where things are going to go, but we said, Joe, 2 things we can't teach you how to live with, right? One is a large amount of media attention and fame, and you've got to learn for that as you go, and what you've got to do is try and just take it as a grain of salt, because it's fleeting, because it comes and it goes, and as much as they love you now, they'll hate you tomorrow and really tear you apart. And the other thing you can't teach young men what to do is how to cope with money. You know, like Joseph right now, and I won't give you exact figures, but he's in line for some very significant paydays and probably become one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest 24-year-olds in the next 6 months in this country. And these are things, you know, Joseph fortunately has one fantastic parents who also make up his management team. He also has excellent accounting advice, comes from Bruce Shepherd, who's one of the New Zealand's leading accountants, and he has wonderful legal advice from a former Supreme Court Justice and Bill Wilson. So I don't think you could have a better team around Joseph to cope with these things. And if you have a look at sort of Kevin Barry, Kevin has been through the media for the last 25, 30 years, both as a participant in the media from at the LA Olympics, so he fully understands the ups and downs all the way through to the trials and tribulations with David Tour, and now the rise again, of Kevin Barry with Joseph Parker. So you couldn't get better mentors than that. We've got Martin Snedden sitting over there, who from all angles has had 35, 40 years in the media. Stanners has had 20, 25 years in the media. Christ, I started getting in the media when I was 20, worked in the media. So we can give them a lot of advice. At the end of the day, it's one of those things that until you go through it, you don't know what it means. But I think Joe's very well grounded, and I would like to think that we won't have any dramas going forward. But we're talking about human beings here who experience life in a very unique and different way to most of us. You tell me one sportsman right now who's as famous in this country as Joseph Parker. When the All Blacks play, there's 20 or 30 guys on display, everywhere from the coaches down to the 15 guys that take the field plus reserves. When this boy fights, there's one, and every single news story is about him. So his level of fame has probably grown exponentially to any other sportsman in this country ever, including David Tour, because it took Dave 8 years to get where he got. Joe's been 3.5. And here we are not only talking about bloody, fighting for the heavyweight champion of the world, but doing it here in New Zealand. The media interest on this, just look at today, is going to be absolutely enormous. So his fame level is going to go through the roof, and fortunately he's got a great support team around him, and I think he takes it in his stride, which is pretty impressive when you think about all the things that are out there for him to participate in, and all the way that you can go awry. If you have a look at Tyson Fury, I look at the guy and go, I wish that wasn't happening to him, because I think he's good for the sport, but there's no one to blame but Tyson.
Joe, are you confident? I mean, you seem to be handling all this at the moment, taking the next step if those pressures come with that next step?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I mean, up to this stage, it's been all good. But like Dean said, I've got a good support team behind me. And I feel like this team will keep me grounded and keep me on the right path.
Cool, we might end it there. I just want to talk about a couple of other things. This is actually an extremely exciting period of time for the company, and I think Dean and David deserve an enormous amount of credit. Obviously, yesterday you saw that we brought Jonathan Thurston to town, and tickets have gone on sale today for the NRL Auckland Nines, and we're shocked by the level of interest in tickets for that this morning. And it wasn't really emphasised yesterday, but I will emphasise it now, that Thurston won't be the first of the very, very, very top echelon big names who have not played in the Nines, who will be announced in the coming weeks. We are hearing a lot of talk behind the scenes of some exciting players, so it's only going to get better than Nines. And also, it's remiss of me not to mention that a lot of you guys have seen Jeff Horn on our cards in the last couple of years. He's now doing his own thing, and some of the staff here, Joe and Chrissy and Chanel and Nikki, and we're over in Brisbane quite a lot, because that is extremely exciting for the company as well. Out of mind, out of sight for you guys. But Jeff is now number 3 in the IBF, and we have a fight in 2 weeks' time, which potentially is going to put him in a position where he will be in exactly the same position as Joseph Parker, but for the IBF welterweight title. So it's really exciting, and that's before we even talk about the Global 10s, which is also happening over here as well. So, sorry, it's happening in Brisbane, but a lot of the staff are involved as well. So it's a pretty exciting time for our company, and I just want to publicly acknowledge these guys have put so much risk into that for a lot of people's enjoyment, and it's been a hell of a ride so far. But the next couple of months is going to be particularly exciting for all of us, and we will try and keep you up to date with absolutely everything that we possibly can regarding it, because we need your support. So thank you for coming today.